Hey, what's up you guys? This is DylanDistorted, and today we're going to be covering r/ProRevenge for the 4th time. This is one of my favorite subreddits, if not my favorite, so let's hop right into the revenge. Story 1. Church Camp is Hell. So a few years ago, I was working for this Baptist summer camp not far away from my home. We'll just call it what it is. Hell. I've been a devoted staff member for 3 years, even managing the concession stand for one of them. I was a hard worker, consistently jumping in to do jobs nobody really wanted to, like trash, pulling weeds, restocking vending machines, etc. On top of all that, I was generally the favorite staffer of the kids that rolled through camp. Now, camp policy was for staff to live on campus when they were working, which was, for most staff, a week-only ordeal. Those of us that work weekends had to request it. I did this frequently, as I genuinely loved the work I was doing. I even worked the off-season as much as I could. Midway through the 3rd summer in Hell, I ended up with a really bad inner ear infection, so I took my allotted week off to recover. Toward the end of the week, I was asked to be on call for the weekend. I didn't have my driver's license at the time, and my family was going 3.5 hours out of town for the weekend, so I requested to stay on campus in case I was needed. I was told this was not a problem. That was incorrect. It should be said that my father had my house key, as he had lost his. 2 hours after arriving on Friday, I'm called down to the dining hall where the week staff was having their final meeting to receive paychecks and debrief. I think nothing of this. I come walking into the dining hall, thrilled to see my companions for the first time in a little over a week, to find the owner of the camp, we'll call him Phil. I'd also like to add that this man is the senior pastor of his church. He's also a racist, sexist, homophobic piece of human garbage that thinks he can get away with murder because he's old and well off, sitting with the entire staff. Phil asked me to come sit with him, and I obliged. As far as I was aware, he was pretty fond of me, so I wasn't concerned. I was wrong to think that way. The following conversation unfolded in front of roughly 30 of my coworkers. "Paul, what are you doing here, pal?" "I was asked to be on call, sir. I was told I could stay on campus since my family's out of town for the weekend." "I see. Well, we don't need you. You can go home." "I actually can't. My family's out of town. My dad has my house key and I don't drive." "I'm sorry to hear that. You'll have to find somewhere to go then, but you can't stay here." Me, very calmly through the whole ordeal. "Phil, I don't have anywhere I can go." "Again, I'm sorry to hear that, but it's not really my problem, is it? You should have thought this one through." So at this point, the entire room has gone silent. All my coworkers are watching on in shock, completely unsure of how to react to this. Phil notices. "You know what? I'm sorry. You can stay here, Paul, but I'm going to work you hard, and you'll be working for the housing alone. I won't be paying you, and you'll have to figure food out." He then looks to the staff, who are even more horrified now, and addresses them. "Am I being unfair? Do y'all think this is reasonable?" I'm fuming. My face is probably very visibly red, and I'd love nothing more to explode, but I do my best to stay calm through this whole thing. I say I'll figure something out and leave without another word. That night was spent sleeping on the side of the road, just off property. The next day, I start forming my plan. My parents are aware of the situation and want desperately to come and get me, but I refuse this. I spent Saturday hiding in my coworker's room. They were checking my room for me like I was some kind of criminal. And Sunday night, I sleep in my room because at this point, I just really don't give a fuck. Monday morning, I make my way into the dining hall out of uniform and take a seat. When the whole staff is present, I stand. It was my day to deliver our devotional, so nobody really thought anything of it. My speech was as followed. "My fellow staff members, you were all present Friday to witness the way I was treated by our loving and fearless leader, Phil. I'm sure many of you were uncomfortable through the course of our conversation, but I want you all to be assured that I got along just fine. Did I resort to sleeping on the side of the road like an animal? Yes. Did I hide on campus the rest of the weekend, having to beg someone to sneak food to me? Again, yes. But that's alright. I must ask you though, if Phil has no problem treating me this way, after giving 3 years of my life to this camp, how do you think he's going to treat you? He was more than happy to put me on the street for a weekend, knowing I had nowhere to go. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but that doesn't seem very Christ-like to me. So, endure his mistreatments as long as you want, but I think I've had enough. I quit. Phil, fuck you. I sincerely hope you rot in hell." With that, I walked out the door, with 10 of my coworkers right behind me. The following week, I caught wind of another 15 quitting after enduring half an hour of Phil shit-talking me to the staff. The camp was left with maybe 6 employees as a group of 850 campers was coming through, and I'd honestly never felt so powerful. Story 2. The worst human I've ever met. So this happened yesterday. I'm not working at the moment, but I've been trying to keep myself busy by offering to help people in my family and friend circle, giving them lifts, helping them move, etc., etc. All in all, I consider myself a pretty generous person. Yesterday, my younger brother finally managed to get a few days off work, and he was going up the coast with some friends for a nice relaxing getaway for one of their birthdays. He'd asked me weeks before if I could give him a lift. As he had chef school that day, I wouldn't be able to get a lift to the house with his friends as planned. I said sure, no problems. The day comes around, I pick him up early as he finishes quick, and we get on our way. The drive wasn't bad, took about 1.5 hours, and we just chatted and listened to music all the way there. It was a nice drive. At this point, it was about 4:30 p.m. by the time I dropped him off and turned around to go home. I got probably halfway home, and I see someone parked up by the side of the road, waving me down. So I decided to pull over as a few cars ahead had already driven past without stopping. They dodged a bullet. "Can I help you?" Me, looking confused since she waved me down. I thought maybe you needed some help. Is everything okay?" No, we ran out of petrol." "Oh, okay, that's a pretty easy fix." The next town I knew had a service station, as I passed it on the way there, and it was only another 5 kilometers up the road. "I can drive you into the town to get petrol and bring you back here." "Okay," she says simply, her son picking up some gravel by the roadside and throwing it into traffic, 60-mile-per-hour highway. "Hey, don't do that, champ, it's dangerous." She had gone to her car and grabbed her purse, but reeled out of it as I say this. "Don't you speak to my son like that," she snapped angrily. "Sorry." I get into my car, followed quickly by the obnoxious pair, high regretting my life choices by this point. Now feeling I can't redouble on myself, given how difficult she has been at me helping her. EP, she sits down and immediately scoffs, looking at her feet. "Why is your car so dirty?" "Oh, sorry. I used to put my work boots down there, so it got kinda dirty over time." "You could clean it up, you know." I laugh nervously and just nod, pulling away and wanting this to be over with as fast as possible. I left my phone in the center console, and she grabs it. "Can I call someone? My phone ran out of charge, and that's why we were stuck out there." "Oh, yeah, go ahead." I have unlimited calls, so I really didn't care. Either she thinks the person on the other line can't hear her, or she's trying to contact them without the use of the phone, because she is shouting. Meanwhile, her son suddenly leaps up between the 2 front seats, looking out the front window. I quickly slow down a bit in shock. "Whoa, put your seatbelt on, dude." The mother just glances at him and pushes him into the back seat, and I have to tell him to put his seatbelt on again before he actually does. I'm fucking seething by this point, but I could already see the town ahead, and she thankfully only had a short conversation and put my phone back. We pull up to the pump without issue, but she sits there for like 10 seconds giving me this quick sideways glance with her arms folded, and I don't even have to ask if this bitch wants me to get the gas for her. I know she does. And then I think, I didn't know if it was going to work, but I wanted to try, and here I am. I get out of the car and grab a 5L jerry can they had on sale, holding it up for her approval, and she nods. I fill it up and walk up to the passenger side door and open it. "What?" "Oh, I just wanted to know if your son wanted to pick out an ice cream. I know it's a hot day today." She looked shocked for a moment, and for the first damn time she smiled. The kid practically leaped out of the car, and much to my happiness, so did she, and followed him in there. I walk in, put the jerry can on the counter as he quickly comes up with his ice cream. "Oh, 1 second, I left my phone in the car. It has my debit card in it." I smile as soon as my back is turned to them, getting into the car and casually driving off, relishing in the sight of her running out of the service station, screaming who knows what profanities. All in all, it only ended up costing me about 20 minutes of my time, but the feeling I got as I drove away was priceless. I wonder how long it took them to get back to their car. I got home fine, and a solid gold story in tow to tell my family. Best drive ever. I only hope the poor guy running the servo didn't cop it too bad from the shitstorm of a human. I wasn't sure if I should post this here or in r/entitled parents, as it kinda suits both. Let me know if I should move it. I've only been lurking on these boards and enjoying the justice, and I finally got some of my own. Story 3. Give away my number because you're upset we broke up? Get yourself fired. Teal deer at the bottom. So for a little while I was dating my coworker. We were both 17 at the time and came to realize she's extremely outgoing and loves parties. For the first few weeks I didn't mind. It was usually with other coworkers anyways, but after 6 consecutive weekends my social anxiety was getting the better of me. After some convincing from my friends, I decided to end things with her because everyone also slowly began to realize she wasn't the nicest. When I broke up with her, she made it way more dramatic than what it was. Afterwards, I started getting texts from unknown numbers. Usually I just ignore them, but they always knew my name, so I felt I had to respond. Turns out she gave my number to all her friends, which is one of the worst things to do to someone with severe anxiety problems. Now the texts at first weren't anything crazy, just annoying. But as it went on and more texts came in, they started getting worse to the point it was stressing me out. I told her to stop giving out my number because it was childish. And she did. For a week or two. But during the week, I told my friend, who also worked with us and understood my side of the story, that she's still bothering me more than a month after we broke up. He suggested I start taking pictures of text messages, so I promptly did. So most conversations started with some insults, and then I'd ask where they'd get my number from. Now the text came late at night, so I assumed that her and her friends were usually drinking, so that if I asked, they would say who they got my number from, and they would say my ex's name. Perfect. So I started to take screenshots with her name in the conversation, where they decided to insult me. After a couple hours, I had about 20 pictures. The next shift I had, we were working together. We're still high schoolers, so we always saw each other because of weekend shifts. I went straight to an assistant manager and said this. Hey, I come with a complaint about my ex. Okay, what's up? She gave out my phone number to her friends when I asked her not to, and they keep harassing me. Really? You two seem to be friends. Have you asked her not to? Many times. Okay, I'll have a talk with her about it. Thanks for bringing it up. That's not all. I showed him the messages I saved, and his eyes widened. Oh god, I thought they were just going to be some innocent crank calls. Nope. This is not only against policy to give out other workers' info, but illegal. Thanks for showing me this. I'll make sure she's swiftly punished. She's working right now, right? Send her back here for me, please. Could you please not mention my name? I don't want any additional drama. Of course. The rest of the shift goes okay. I don't see her or get any text for the rest of the day. Then I came back the next day and hear from a friend who told me I should start taking screenshots, explaining she was fired for harassment and giving out private info. It was my best victory, especially when she messaged me saying I was a piece of shit for getting her fired. To which I just responded with the middle finger emoji and blocked her number. Teal dear, Psycho X gave away my number to her friends to harass me, so I get her fired for leaking personal information. Story 4. Mean girl betrays my friend, and in return, I ruin her life. I made a throwaway for this because I definitely know some of this person's friends are on Reddit. Also, forgive the shitty writing/editing. I am writing this on my lunch break. This is really long. Teal dear at the end. Backstory. Anyway, last year I started hanging out with this really fun group of girls that I met through my master's program. I was in a really bad place, and these girls embraced me right away. There were about 5 of us in this girl group, and I loved all of them. Well, I loved all except one. Let's call her egotistical bitch, EB. EB was mean. EB was catty. She was the wildest girl in this group. She also wanted to party. She always showed up late at the university, and she was just so fake. EB and I had the same focus in our master's program, so I unfortunately had to spend a lot of time with her. That quality time together made EB feel very comfortable around me, to the point where she thought she could say anything to me. In that time, she talked so much shit about every other girl we hung out with. I'm talking about really mean stuff. She also continually belittled/talked down to me. She questioned my intelligence all the time, and always tried to undermine me and make me feel less about myself. Now I put up with EB because I love the other girls, and they could just not see how toxic she was. EB also rented a room with one of the girls in my group. Let's call her Dolly. Dolly is the sweetest girl I have ever met. I've only known her for a year, and she is already like a sister to me. She's a typical Southern belle type, all bubbly personality and strong accent, but she would literally give you anything she had if you asked for it. EB regularly treated Dolly terribly, late on rent, borrowing/ruining her clothes, never cleaning. Dolly didn't say anything, because she knew EB came from a bad home life and wanted her to feel safe in their apartment. Seriously, Dolly is an angel. The offense. In my program, all the MA students are also teaching assistants, TAs, or research assistants, RAs. So one day, after submitting all of our students' midterm grades, our group decided to go out and have a celebratory drink. Dolly, however, did not accompany us, because she was going over to her boyfriend's house. The rest of us headed to the Irish pub right off campus. We all had either classes ourselves or were teaching the next day, so most of us don't drink that much. My university has a really strict attendance policy, even for MA students, so we were pretty careful. Except for EB. She gets drunk, like face on sideways, rip-roaring drunk. This was not unusual. EB was known for getting super drunk all the time, but she'd really been struggling with managing her TAing and her own classes, so she went for it extra hard. 2 hours after we got there, the rest of us have had 1, maybe 2 drinks and eaten to help us stay sober. EB, on the other hand, could barely stand. Unfortunately, I live in the same complex as EB, and since Dolly wasn't there, I had to take her drunk ass home. On the way home, EB starts talking. About Dolly. This twatstickle was so drunk that she had no filter. EB starts saying that Dolly is a dumb, inbred southern bimbo, and the only reason that our faculty advisor liked Dolly so much was that she has big tits. She also let it slip that she had been sexting Dolly's boyfriend and intended on fucking him. Apparently, they had been sending nudes for some time, and he'd even been sexting EB while Dolly was over at his house that night. After telling me all of this, she promptly fell asleep in my passenger seat. At this point, I am in shock, but I know I can't let this stand. You can fuck with me, but you don't fuck with my friends. The revenge. My first reaction was to kick EB out of my car, but I thought better of it. We live in the pretty big city known for human trafficking crime, and I may hate the girl, but I don't want her dead/physically hurt. Instead, I dropped her off at her apartment, tucked her into bed, and grabbed her phone. Using her thumb to unlock her phone, I found all of the messages between EB and Dolly's boyfriend. I took screenshots and sent them to myself, deleting the screenshots/message to myself after. Then I turned off EB's alarm for the next day. As I mentioned, my university is very strict about the attendance of their students, and I knew for a fact that EB already had at least 2 warnings regarding missed/late classes. The next day, EB didn't show up to the lab she taught as a TA. She called in midway through the day and said she had the flu, but unfortunately for her, an anonymous file was sent to the faculty advisor showing a video of her doing Irish car bombs the night before. The file also came up with a short note explaining that the last couple of times EB had called in, she'd been hungover/lying as well. The same day, I showed Dolly the messages between EB and Dolly's now ex-boyfriend. Dolly freaked out. I had never seen someone so mild-mannered lose their shit before, but Dolly snapped. She then told me that EB was 2 months late on the rent and this was the last straw. Dolly went home that night and told EB she had a week to get the fuck out of her apartment and pay Dolly what she owed. When EB said I was a liar and making shit up between them, Dolly showed EB the messages. According to Dolly, the bitch went silent. What more could she say? Within the next 2 weeks, EB was crashing on some friend's couch and she was placed on academic suspension. Apparently her grades sucked as much as her personality. That combined with her lying/attendance problems caused the university to pull her funding. I still have to see her, but she now knows better than to talk to me or anyone in our group. We pretty much all cut her out of our lives. Sometimes I feel like I went too far, but then I remember how smug her drunk ass looked, telling me she was going to steal my best friend's boyfriend, and I feel much better. Teal Deer. Shady lady in my friend's group/master's program drunkenly brags to me about cheating with my best friend's boyfriend. I get her kicked out of her apartment and put the dominoes in motion to get her put on academic suspension. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been r/ProRevenge. I know I did this slightly different. I didn't really give commentary behind it. I've seen some people do it this way where they just keep going with stories because I think that's really what people come here for. They come here for for different stories that other people haven't did. So I'm trying to find more stories that I didn't see other people did. Obviously it's Reddit, so there's going to be multiple people doing the same stories, but I'm putting in an attempt to not do the same stories anymore. This is probably the last episode with this microphone, so my audio quality will get a lot better in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for the people who giving me advice in the comments, letting me know how I can improve this channel. It really helps. Anyway, I'm going to keep this short. Like the video if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and peace out, Girl Scout.